Call this committee, this whole meeting to order on March 26th, 2024 at 6:03 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first item up this evening is public participation, and I do have the names of a couple individuals who'd like to speak with the council this evening. So we will start with Nancy Carter. Nancy? Yeah, let me get you.
There's a chair by. I can stand, that's fine. I just don't know how to address you. Your honors, your majesties.
No.
Your worship. However you like.
The floor is all yours, Nancy.
I wrote my comments so that I can get it all in. And I gave a signed copy up here if anybody needs to look at. I don't know if you know the issues, so I'm just saying that last fall, with the announced closing of Lincoln Christian University and subsequent purchase of part of the property by a church, I sent letters to 8 households in the first block. Primarily, this was to be sure that the road adjacent to the campus in front of our homes and the exits and the green areas near our homes were being discussed. One homeowner responded to my letter and indicated a meeting would be planned. The new year arrived and further information was learned by that one person. So subsequently, we found ourselves as homeowners in an alarming situation. So I don't know if you know what that is. Regardless of who created our sewer system, no entity appears to claim it. We have lived on campus, Gerald and I, for about 35 years at 110 Campus View and then further down at 250 Campus View. And we're never informed that the sewer system is apparently in jeopardy of certain failure with no responsibility. Having paid city water and sewer all these years and being responsible citizens to keep the property up in an acceptable manner and paying taxes, we want to ask the city to interact and address the issues. I maintain that the city has an obligation in this matter. I respectfully submit that the county and even the state of Illinois has an interest to be sure that the residential areas to the west of the campus remain intact. Should the sewer suddenly not function properly, our property would be not inhabitable for a lengthy period of time. Obvious fixes to that problem would be costly and time consuming. Many, if not most of the homeowners represented here would be unable to absorb these expenses, perhaps even required to sell the homes that we love in an area we love at values that reduce the equity. Cost for this should be like all costs we all bear as citizens, doing it as the entire city coming together to settle the matter. The county and the state has an investment in this residential area. Visitors come through town for the Lincoln legacy, Abraham Lincoln, and Route 66, and we need to take pride in the residential areas at city entrances. So I said time is of the essence. The issue needs to be resolved sooner rather than later. And I did inject a little levity at our first meeting of these people, and I said, we're the only ones with an outhouse on our property, so if you drive by 110 Campus View, years ago I bought a 3/4 size outhouse, and it's a yard ornament. We don't intend to use it, but
Not yet, anyway.
So I think I don't know if, who else is speaking, but if you have any questions, I'll be glad to address it.
Okay, thank you. Next up is Mr. Bill Cooper.
Good evening. Thank you all for allowing us to speak. I'm going to piggyback on what Nancy was saying. The issue at hand is the sewer line that runs on the east side of those first 8 homes. I've talked to the college several times. The last time I spoke with them was last week. They still maintain that the city of Lincoln owns that sewer line. I know back in the early 2000s, my wife and I have lived at 140 for 27 years. Back in the early 2000s, there was a petition submitted by LCU, circulated by Ed Plumier, who worked for the college at that time. It was my understanding that that petition was denied by the city, and it has not been approached since. So I maintain that the college owns it. However, if the sale goes through to Open Arms, and after I've talked with some leadership at Open Arms, they tell me the college is informing them that you guys own it. So, and I've had conversations with him. It's my fear that what's going to happen is if that sale goes through and they decide to purchase the rest of the remaining of LCU's campus, the sewage that comes out of our house travels through that private line before it goes to the city, which is about 600 feet or so from my property line. And talking with Mr. Andrew Bounds, the expense to that for my wife and I would be somewhere in the neighborhood ballpark around $80,000 to $100,000. So I don't know many homeowners in Lincoln who can absorb that cost. So it's my plea tonight that I know there's going to be a study being done. I know the sewer line that runs in front of our house, I believe, has been scoped and is as an imminent failure. It's not a question of if it's going to fail, it's a matter of when it's going to fail. So I would plead with you to consider the study that's being done, take that into consideration for the property values of us, like Nancy said, because if we don't have sewage coming out of our house in a way to get it to the city, we have property values that are absolutely worthless. So, and I know sewer lines are an issue all over the city, and I know we're not the only privately owned sewer line, but I would ask that you do consider that study and allow us to be able to hook up to that. So with that being said, I'll open up. If you got any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I do know, and I think I know a lot. I'm going to try to meet with Mr. Bounds and a couple of aldermen. If you want to come out to the campus view, I can show you. There's an easement that comes up, clear up into the front of our lawns that the college owns, that the sewer runs on. So there is no, there's no question that's on the college. That's it. Any questions?
Ms. Rawls?
Ms. Rawls?
Bill, I just want to back up a second. Is the first problem the fact that it goes through the line that's on the college property, and the college owns that?
Yes, so the first 8 residents on campus there, from 110 down to 180. Those lines, the sewage goes out towards the east, and that's where the college has their sewer line. It runs in our front lawns, and the college LCU, the university, owns that property. So it's their line. They failed to maintain it for the last, let's just say, 70 years, and it's crumbling. And the issue is the nearest sewer tap for us to tap into is on past, if you're familiar with the area, where Campus View makes the turn and there's that left-hand turn that goes up to the college, there's a manhole right there on the right-hand side of the shoulder, and that is our nearest sewer tap. So for those of us who live the north half of that first block, it will be a significant cost to run that line.
Okay, so if that main that the college owns,
Yes.
deteriorates and fails,
Yes.
all of the rest of you are impacted by that.
Yes, ma'am.
That's before it gets to the city
Yes,
main.
ma'am. Yes, ours travels through a privately owned sewer line before it gets to the city. And I know when you buy a home and you fill out the disclosure statements on the purchase of your home agreement, it only asks if there is city sewer, and that box is marked yes. It doesn't say that it runs through a private line first, it just says that it's marked yes for city sewer.
So I guess I would have to ask Andrew, if that happens, if the college main fails, then they can't get past that to get to the city one at this point.
That is what you guys approved engineering for back in February, in front of all of the aldermen, all of the elected officials. For any of the people here regarding this issue, there is a map on this front desk that you are more than welcome to, as well as a memo that was presented to City Council in February. The engineering is still ongoing for this issue. We have budgeted money this year for the installation of a new line going down Campus View to solve this issue forever. It is what it is. But homeowners would be required to tie into that as they have issues moving forward. But
And that's a high pressure line, correct? That's the one you're talking
Well,
about.
it's low pressure, but compared to gravity.
Yes, okay.
And that would be on the back side of the house.
So that is, yes, that is the plan right now. Unfortunately, until we make it through the entirety of the engineering, we're not going to have a perfect answer for that. There are many rules that come into play with the EPA that we have to follow to get this line put in. So,
Do we know I know it's already started, do we know a projected end time for the completion of the study?
I can't give you a hard answer on that. I would say within the next month or two, we're going to have something to present to the council, but that is just an estimate at this point.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Parrott, and then Mr. Bateman, and then Mr. Eimer.
I was just gonna ask about the study. Are you referencing the study that Andrew just referenced?
Yes, it's an engineering agreement to design a line that would be able to service all of the homeowners down Campus View.
And that study would also then include a cost.
I was gonna say, the study is not exactly the word I would use. This is engineering for design build.
Gotcha.
Like this is, can I interject? Absolutely, this is our.
I just
engineer
meant it,
right
yes.
here.
So, hold on, Shane, before we go on, everybody's gotta speak up. Because
Okay.
we don't have like good microphones in here, and someone's gotta transcribe this meeting, so
Do you want me to?
it'd be
Yeah,
better if you
come
get
on.
closer to these
Okay.
recorders in the center.
So Andrew's right, we, last year we signed a general sewer engineering work order with the city just to handle kinda, miscellaneous projects that he wants us to look at, investigate. At the start of the year, he identified several things to look at for the year to come. So we came back with an amendment to that work order, to increase the engineering dollars, so we'd have some fee to work with. Part of that was this study for Campus View Drive, where we were gonna look at what's a possible low pressure system to do that. And it would include the preliminary engineering cost and that. So that is just the study phase. Whatever we decide to do with that, whatever the solution is, then has to move into design and get permitted with the state. So it'll have to get taken kind of to the next level. So all those things take time. So we got to get through the study phase, figure out which direction we're going to head, and then we'll go into full plans and an EPA permit. That'll take 90 days for the EPA to review it. These things just take time. So we're moving on it.
Okay.
Is I think the main takeaway.
Mr. Bateman?
So, obviously, all these people are my neighbors. We drive by their house. We have to drive by their house going to and from, because we're the last house. So, mine's a two-part question. One, to Andrew, these residents are 110 to 180. So, the residents 210 to 340, what sewer line are they on?
I can't answer that because we have no documentation of what the college built out there. We have no idea what's in the ground. It's supposition, it's word of mouth from residents speaking out there.
And to piggyback on what you just said, I do know from speaking with leadership at Open Arms the Marriage Student Housing, what used to be called Marriage Student Housing out on Route 10, all of their sewage plus the chapels all flows towards us, all towards that main tap. So all that sewage is coming this direction too as well. So I don't know where they're at on the campus. I've not been able to find anybody that even has an idea of where those sewer lines are at.
That's a common problem, that we don't have private properties and lines mapped.
Right.
We're trying to get better at that, but it should have been done a long time ago.
So the reason I bring that up, obviously 30 years ago when Peggy and I bought our house, we had septic issues. We realized that, you know, there was city sewer. We were told there was city sewer close by. Tried to get city sewer run down the street. That's when we found out back in 95, 96 that there is no city sewer in the area. That's when we also learned that from 340 all the way to Route 10, every one of those residents is on a privately owned sewer line that Lincoln Christian University installed, because all of those homes were built for the university, for their faculty and staff to live in. So the reason I'm saying this is the study that Andrew's got going on is for 110 to 180, but I want the city to realize that this may snowball into 210 to 340.
I was going to say, Alderman Bateman, the plan for this is to serve the entirety of campus.
So go all, okay.
Yes.
All right, so
If we're going
that
to
plan would
solve
go
a
all the way to
problem,
340.
Solve it forever.
So, and I appreciate these people coming forward. They actually maintain their own road in front of their house with snow plows and that. So, you know, kudos to them for taking the initiative. They're all nice homes on that stretch of land. It's just the forgotten island that was out there. I did reach out to Open Arms when they announced they were purchasing the rest of it, letting them know that they could be possibly purchasing a conundrum for them. So all parties are aware of the issue that's going on, so.
Mr. Heimer?
I got two things. You touched on one of them. It does go all the way back, the study, all the way back to his house, so.
No, not to our house. Doesn't go all the way to our house, does it?
No, it goes to here.
All the way to the end.
We're all on septic back
We're
here
on
from
septic.
3.
But this deal they put in would go all the way back,
The study will address
all the way.
Yeah, so if you.
Which is good. The other thing, the cost to these folks, you're talking about, and I don't know anything about this pump system this high pressure pump system. Do you have a rough estimate of each resident, what you think, if we can do this and we can get that line in, what it will cost them to
It will be at the owner's discretion to tie into this system when and if you experience problems with the shared common that you're all tied into. Rough estimate right now, 5,000 to 8,000 for each person.
which is pretty reasonable.
That's fantastic.
And
compared to what we
Better
were
than
looking at.
80.
yes, and if hopefully we can go this direction, help you guys out. And I think another thing, and I don't know, Tracy, as far as John maybe can answer this, should we as a city say something to the Open Arms before the sale of this property? It should be clarified to Open Arms what is going on about the sewer line and that they could be liable.
It's been
That's what Mr. Bateman
clarified.
did.
Is it?
Mr.
Okay.
Bounds did also.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know that there's been some discussion about, and some people believe that the city owns that line. To be clear, the city does not own
So it's
that
proven
line.
that we do not own it.
It is on private property.
Okay.
It was built to serve their needs back in the day, and they all tie into, at least many of them, into a shared lateral. So it is possible when one goes down, multiple go down.
Yes.
Which is why it's important to address this now. The university was aware of this. I know they've been made aware of this multiple times. And that is why Mr. Crawford was reached out to by Mr. Bateman to let him know what has transpired leading up to this date and what you may be looking at later. So it's all private.
So if the sale goes through, when did you think, Mr. Cooper, does this sale go through? You roughly?
By June 1st of this
By
year,
June
the
1st.
sale should be finalized. And it may go through sooner than that, speaking with Mr. Crawford, but the deadline
So
is
if it does go
June 1st.
through, I guess my question, I don't know, John, if you can answer is, if they take it over, Open Arms, are they legally responsible to help these people till we can get, that's the question. You know, I mean, it's gonna take us time to get all
Right.
these,
We're not legally responsible.
No,
We don't own the land.
But
No, I'm
it
not
is-
saying that.
is Open Arms.
is Open Arms legally responsible to?
I mean, depending on how their paperwork is phrased when the closure actually happens, but I would presume that Open Arms would be responsible if they're taking all the assets and, that, Lincoln Christian University currently has in their.
From my understanding, they are purchasing what remaining property, which includes all of ours. They're purchasing the remainder of it, which would include the street and the sewer line that runs in front of our houses.
So if there were to be a blockage, something happened with that line, as best we can tell at this point, it would be a civil matter between the homeowners and Open Arms, or
Well-
the current owners of the property.
It would probably be,
Whatever that may
it would
be.
probably serve the city best to have a written, admonishment to the Open Arms, about our position and about, that the fact that they would be taking possession of that, because you don't wanna run into a situation where, something does happen, and then we, the city, say, of course, we don't own it, you know, the college owns it, and the college sold to Open Arms, and then Open Arms will say, well, we didn't, and then it just discover that the college does own it.
Right.
And then Open Arms is like, well, we didn't buy that, that was
Yes.
what, so then you're trying to say that the college, the only left remaining asset is that sewer line? Underneath
was
there. So
discussed.
And that was discussed.
So
That's
that was
our, that's our
discussed.
fear, because
You're kinda getting
if
into a
the,
bigger
right.
money situation, so.
Well, it just,
Yeah.
I agree, it's best because it makes everybody aware of the facts
Mhm.
and where each party stands on the matter. I agree with you.
Yeah, I'm just saying if there's anything we can do as a council in the city to protect them or help them battle Open Arms or Christian, I think we should do that because they are citizens, they pay a sewer bill. I mean, anything we can do to help them, I think we should do that.
Mr. Bateman?
So, and I confirmed this with Bill and Andrew, each time that Mr. Cooper, I'm sorry, talking to you like a neighbor. Each time that I spoke with two different individuals at Open Arms, I brought this scenario up, and each time Lincoln Christian University informed them it's only 2 households that this involves. And I kept saying, no, it's the entire street. So I informed them, and I told them what year I started the conversation way back when. So Open Arms is aware that by purchasing all of the remainder of Lincoln Christian University, this is one of the assets they're purchasing, is this sewer line.
And to add on to what you just said, and it is our fear too, with what they've purchased over the last 3 years, and it being a church, we're concerned that if something does fail with that sewer line, there won't be any.
Yeah.
How do they pay? How do they pay for that? So and then we're just.
I know.
And that's
That's what I'm
really
worried about.
costly.
Yes, it will be
Very.
costly.
Ms. Rolfs?
And that pretty well was going along with what I was going to ask. Is there any way that the city can own the sewer system there? Do you want to?
It would, in my opinion, in the many sewer issues that I've dealt with in my time up here, it would establish a very precarious precedent that could get us into other issues. For instance, there's a current situation that I was working with Mr. Bounds and Mr. Landers on today, and that person has a very similar issue on a smaller scale, and they're responsible for the line from their house up to the tap and including the tap into our city infrastructure. And to get into that road for that situation, the average repair runs anywhere between $15,000 and $25,000 for a homeowner. The bulk of the cost is because our lines are under the road, and when you tear the road up, you gotta put the road back. And so that's why the city has avoided getting into the ownership of lines on personal property for that reason. And others.
Which is why if you could go ahead and approve this, if you could approve the study when it's done, you own the easement, I believe, in the back along Campus View there, where it would go in, it doesn't run, and it wouldn't run underneath the road, correct? It would run along through the easement there.
I guess we would need to investigate where the actual easement is.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd probably be somewhere in the
In the
ditch
ditch, in the
going
ditch
from the
there.
road, that you all have a ditch that goes up to your backyard.
So it's good that.
This is all gonna come out in the
Yeah.
engineering, that's what we've
Yeah.
got to get.
Cause what you call your front is actually what
The back.
most people
Yes.
describe as back,
Yes,
so.
right, because
Yeah.
we have the road in the front.
And there is no storm drainage out there either. Everybody's
No.
yard floods when it
Right.
rains, so.
Well, I think it's promising that the engineering study's going on.
Yes, I
And-
agree.
And we're moving in the right direction. It may take a little bit of time, so we'll all pray you don't run into any issues out there.
We have, so, so we have this, so,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak this evening under public participation?
I would have a question.
Yes.
I
Absolutely.
don't know if this is, I don't know if this is a question that I have a right to ask. With an attorney here, I guess.
You can ask any question you like.
The sale, the latest sale is for $800,000. And that is where that little road runs adjacent to the property that they describe as what they bought. If, we have a letter because we've donated to the college, so we have a letter that says all proceeds are going to go to the reduction of the debt of the college. I don't know that we would have a civil suit even against the $800,000.
I would say
because-
you're gonna probably have to ask outside counsel in regards to that one.
Okay.
I can't speak as to that.
Yeah, and we have talked to someone who has never even heard of a thing like this.
Yep.
But if there are liens against the school, ours would be probably at the bottom anyway, perhaps.
Yeah, I
You
can't
don't know.
they usually go and in the order from which they were filed unless they have
Do
some sort of
ask.
statutory precedent. What's that?
Yes, speak
So
up.
Bill can hear.
Okay. Well, liens go in order from which they were filed unless they have some sort of statutory precedents from which they come, from which they would be used first. But that's all I can really speak. I can't speak as to, whatever lawsuit you are making or alluding to, so.
Because if we spend money hiring attorneys, the only one that comes out is the attorney. Sorry.
Right.
Our son is an attorney up north. So I know.
Got your number, don't they?
Did you want to speak?
My name is Tim Woods. I didn't give you my name, but I live on the south half
Tim,
of
could you step up here so
Sure.
I want to make sure the microphones can catch you and we want to see you.
I live at 270, which is on the other side of the drive, so I live closer to Mr. Bateman before you go around the curve, but I dare say that nobody on my end of the street even is aware that there's an issue. The only reason I'm aware that there's an issue is because I have friends that live in the Carter's old house at 250, and they had at least 3 backups in their crawl space, and they butted heads with LCU all 3 times, and that's where they came into the knowledge of this. So all those houses from the drive south, I dare say that I'm probably the only one aware of this issue. So we've got an information issue, but I don't know that what we do about that.
Your new neighbor at 220 is aware as of tonight.
Okay. And I know the lady, the house next to ours at 280, they moved in the house 2 years ago, and within 6 months they had to put a sewer clean out in their yard, and she found that out the hard way. So,
I would say that at least as long as I've been up here, Steve's been here longer than all of us, we have tried to constantly remind the community about the aging infrastructure of our sewer systems.
Sure.
They're very old, and that's why we went through the trouble last year. It won't solve your problems out on Campus View, but that's why we've tried to stress to people, there's programs out there, get insurance on this, because sewer systems, old sewer systems, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
right. Well, I'm
We do
encouraged to
too,
hear
so.
about this study
Yep.
and that it will take care of the entire street, so
Yep.
I'm encouraged by my aldermen and what you guys are doing, so.
Perfect, thank you.
Thanks.
Ma'am, if you'd like to step up.
I do
And
have a-
can you
can
state
you
your
hear me?
name? Can you state your name for the record?
Yes, Linda Allison. Do you have any idea, we were talking about, since we all have lived there, how much we have paid into a sewer, the city sewer, we thought. And now we found out we're really not on a city sewer. And, I just think of all the money. I mean, one person said they spent over $16,000 since they've moved in, and another has been even longer than that. So it's a lot of money that the 8 places have paid over the years that we haven't been on city sewer.
Well, to clarify,
Right.
I don't know the specifics of your property, but even though there's a shared lateral with properties, it all ends up at the city. Whether it comes to us through one line or 5 individual lines or however many there are, it still comes through our system. It still gets processed at our plant.
Oh.
It's just the matter in which it gets from your house to our line. That's the big problem
I
here.
appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yep. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you very much for coming in. We appreciate it, and we will stay in touch
Bill,
with you.
we'll get in touch with, maybe one of the study. Just, we'll come out then.
That's fine.
That'd be better. We're kind of handicapped for this studies. Okay. I'll keep in touch.
You can take one of
Yeah, you
those.
can
if
take that
want.
with you tonight.
Oh.
And the
And
Yeah.
memo.
The memo next to it.
Oh, I like memos.
If any of you folks want a copy of this, yeah.
There's copies.
You can have it.
Table up there.
Okay.
You can have it.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Thank you.
Bill, you want a copy of this?
Yes.
Here, you can have mine. There's one there.
There's plenty there, Bill.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
You'll be working on that fish pond here pretty soon, won't you?
He's a good guy.
Okay.
He's smart enough.
Okay, next item up on the agenda is item number 4, Crawford Murphy and Tilly work order number 3 amendment, work orders 7 and 8. Mr. Bounds or Mr. Rimmer? Shane?
I'm gonna refer to Mr. Ruby.
Yeah.
Okay,
Not me on this one.
that's you. You got another one? I'm sorry, Walt, you typed in the
Yeah, I think, so there's 3 items that were included. I think Walt's description of them were accurate. The first one is an amendment to our work order from last year. If you may recall, there were some mill and overlay targets from last year that carried over to this year because of the bidding climate. Last fall, we also started doing planning efforts for this coming year, for the 2024 year. That included different options on Tremont Street and you know, I guess I've been here, I've addressed the council as far as some of the background work that we've been doing. So those hours that we charge for that went against work order 3, so we need an amendment to kind of bolster that up so we can finish out the work for that. That would cover the 2023 and 2024 targets that'll be used, that'll be funded by city funds. So that's kind of one set of documents. So then work order 7 would be for the resurfacing that's gonna be covered under the Rebuild Illinois and the MFT funded, the kind of the state funded and their requirements. So those are a little more stringent, so we have to do a little bit more work. So that's the separate work order for that. And then, work order 8 is the engineering agreement for, Tremont Street, so we could get going on the design for that, so we can look to, do construction on that next year. So, all in all, you know, there's 3 work orders here, but I'll just remind the council that, you know, between the 3 of these, it's about $3.2 million in construction is what we've estimated, so there's quite a bit of work ahead for the city.
Mr. Barrett?
So, for the work for 23-24, do you anticipate that being completed in 24?
Yeah, that's the goal.
Did you say Tremont Street was 24 or 25?
So the engineering for Tremont Street would be done this year, and that's to prepare for it to be
25.
bid next year. That one's gonna be a little more extensive, where we've gotta do more field surveys because of all the grades and everything that's going on there, so.
Okay. Mr. Landers?
For Tremont Street, that's just the design engineering, that's not the construction engineering.
Right. So, yeah, I guess
Talk
that's.
about doing that maybe in phases too, is that what we mentioned?
As we
Right.
dive deeper into it, then we'll have a better idea of what we're gonna need to do.
Right. So the construction engineering will be handled later, once we figure out really how we're gonna phase it, or how we're gonna, if it's gonna be 1 bid package or 2 bid packages, or what we do there.
And is that from Union to, be Logan Street?
Logan to Union.
Logan to Union only? Okay.
So you're saying that the construction wouldn't be till
2025.
25?
25 and possibly rolling over into 26.
Won't prices go up?
Yeah.
So we gotta lock it in early.
Are we locking it in though?
So what we would, one of the scenarios we talked about we'll design it this year, come next spring, about this time of year when IDOT's having their lettings, we'll try and get it out. And that way, even if it takes 2 construction seasons, we'll lock the contractor in to their pricing, at that one letting.
Okay.
The reason we might phase it, you talked about that, is if the city, say, you know, we get this together and say, if you remember, the preliminary estimate was around $1.5 million. If we say we can't do that in a fiscal year, we need to stretch it over 2, that's when we would look at phasing it out.
Is there gonna be anything to do with catch basins, storm water drainage also included in that? I mean, there's gonna be.
So, with that, the intersections are low.
Mhm.
We're talking about doing a grade raise, so we raise the whole street up so that the inlets would be redone to make sure it drains well. This is my chance to put Andrew on notice that, Andrew, the street will be tore up if there's anything you wanna do to the sewer there.
I appreciate the heads up.
Be all new curb then too?
Yeah, if it's a complete reconstruction is what we're talking about. I mean, the whole profile of the road is coming up, so,
Okay.
basically from curb line to curb line, will be replaced.
Do you know how much up?
No, we haven't done that yet.
Okay.
But it needs
Mr. Ross?
Well, I know on some of those streets, they've got the walls. Does that involve those walls, or is it just the actual curb that's on the street?
That's part of the design engineering, trying to figure out
We've
how
gotta,
to deal with those.
we'll have to get into that in the design, the best way to work with those walls and some of those challenges as far as the grade. But coming up is a lot easier than going deeper, so.
Well, there are quite a few brick walls in that
If
area.
you come up though, you might have to take some of the walls out and then reconstruct them, correct? Yeah.
And tie back into the sidewalk or the carriage walk, whatever happens to be there.
Okay, any other questions? So, this is technically 3 separate items.
Correct.
So, place all 3 on the regular agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Alright. We'll place those on the regular agenda. Thanks, Shane.
All right, very good. All right, thanks, everyone.
Okay, next item up is item number 5, proposal for audit services from Estes, Bridgewater, and Ogden for the city of Lincoln for fiscal year 2023, 2024, and fiscal year 2024, 2025. Mr. Conzo?
Thank you, Mayor. You see the proposal there in front of you. In case you wonder what it was for the previous 2 years, they kept the same cost for fiscal year 21-22 and for 22-23. And that was $24,800 each year for those 2 years. So this is a very modest increase for the upcoming, for the fiscal year that we're in when they'll do that audit next summer, and for the following year, which they'll do in the summer of 2025. And you can see those numbers there, 26,500 and 27,200 respectively. It's a major undertaking to do too.
Consent agenda.
Regular agenda. Okay. Place item number 5 on the regular agenda. Okay, next up is item number 6, Economic Development Commission approval for HBC Hill Brothers Construction and Remodeling LLC and 118 North McLean Street in the amount of $7,500 for structural repairs, tuck pointing, window, and door. Regular agenda.
Put it on the
Regular
agenda.
Okay, we'll place item number 6 on the regular agenda. Next up is item number 7, proclamation declaring Heartland Bank and Trust Sangamon Branch officially open on April 9th, 2024. Has everybody had an opportunity to read that? Okay. And this is for the next item.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, so place item number 7 on the, you guys place this on regular. Okay, regular agenda. Are we okay with the Heartland proclamation on the regular agenda?
Yeah.
Okay. The next item is the proclamation declaring March 2nd for this year and all years to follow Lady Railer Basketball Day in Lincoln. And you have a copy of the proclamation in front of you that Mr. Hoblet drafted up for us. And you can have a second to read that if you'd like. Okay, is everybody okay placing this on the regular agenda?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. Item number 8 will be on the regular agenda. Next is item number 9, 5th Street Road Intergovernmental Agreement. Mr. Landers.
Yes, this is the agreement that we've had with the county over the last 18 years that reflects part of their jurisdiction within that project. And this is funding of about $488,000 for the project itself. And basically it's just changing a few of the update, I guess shouldn't say changes, but updating some of the items in that agreement. And then basically the council agreeing with that, and then it'll move forward for signatures.
What's being
Mr.
changed?
Reimer.
What's being changed?
So the
highlighted areas are changed.
the partial west of Conley Road, the whole length of the project was due to have curb and gutter on it. So the section from Conley Road to the west is being changed to just a, get the terminology right here. It's going to be basically an aggregate shoulder with 2 11-foot driving lanes and 4-foot paved shoulders. So there will be no gutter in that section of road.
Mr. Barrett.
Walt, do you have any concerns with any of the updates or changes?
No, I do not.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the intergovernmental agreement?
Is Conley Road ever discussed about doing anything with it as far as?
Not as part of 5th Street.
Okay. Maybe that's something we need to look at down the road. It's a highly traveled road, but.
Mr. Halls, you have a question?
No.
Okay, look like you do.
Not yet,
Not yet.
maybe eventually.
Okay.
Let's just get 5th Street Road done first.
I agree.
Okay, so place item number 9 on the regular agenda. Okay. Place item number 9 on the regular agenda. Next up is item number 10, leaf collection program analysis and possible purchase of leaf back. Mr. Landers.
Yes, I wrote a pretty extensive memo here. I hope everybody's had a chance to look at it. I'll open up to any questions that anyone may have.
photos and videos to share.
Okay. Are we gonna do that tonight, or is that something separate, or?
We can do it before questions or after questions.
Okay. Are you concerned about all the cost and maintenance of this machine? One thing, Andrew made a point to me earlier, I hope it's okay, we talked about
The total
funding.
cost of ownership.
Yeah, that there's possibility of funding coming from the
Enterprise sewer fund.
Yeah, the sewer, so it's not out of the street department budget, correct?
Yeah, I'll let Mr. Ballard
Yeah.
answer that.
Can you explain that for us?
To elaborate on that, we have a stormwater pollution prevention plan, SWPPP, that addresses things of this nature within the city. So within this program, this would be an applicable cost that could be expensed out of the enterprise sewer fund if the council was so inclined.
Do you know how much of that funding we can use towards the machine?
Enterprise sewer fund currently sits at right around $7 million. Mr. Conzo may be able to give a more accurate figure, but that I think is appropriate for this conversation. It is not something that is currently in the sewer budget this year. The sewer budget is going to be taxing the enterprise sewer fund by approximately $1.3 million this year due to the capital improvement plan that was discussed last year with the council. So we will be tapping it already. This is something else that could come out of it if you were so inclined.
It wouldn't pay for all of it, just a part of it, or?
No, we could pay for the whole thing.
Okay.
Back to Mr. Heimer's first few questions about the cost of ownership or maintenance or anything of that nature. I have no concerns with the machine. I think it's a good machine. I don't have any issues. I've talked to at least one other community that used it. They've had no maintenance issues over the last 2 years. They've been using it. They were fairly happy with it. Most of my concerns are in the operational part of the program. So, but as far as the machine, I don't see any issues with it.
And would you be in favor of the one with the cab over the guy sitting in the back? Because and I'm speaking from experience of running the older style. I obviously there's been changes, but that debris that blows out of the top will come down on that person outside.
Actually, the debris comes out the back at the bottom
Yeah,
of
let's.
the machine.
Yeah,
let's
with some
see
of the
that.
questions. Let's start.
Oh, it is different.
Do you wanna talk about these, or you want me to?
I would. Yeah,
Okay.
it doesn't matter.
So-
if you want me to.
We'll start at the beginning. I took some videos and photos of the demonstration. This is the model that was brought. It's a demonstration model that they have. And to Mr. Reimer's point, if you look at the front, there's the cab right here. And the streets and alley crew would sit in that cab. It's got a monitor, some cameras, it's got a joystick. And one thing I want to point out, in all these videos you're going to see, our guys were running it. These are guys that had no experience, had not seen this thing before they showed up with this demonstration model. And the reason I tell you that is because you'll see it was a little clunky in the beginning, but they picked up pretty fast, I thought, on how smooth it was to operate it. So this demonstration model obviously has the arm on the side with the hose. It's got the tailgate on the back. The cab has, it's climate controlled. It comes with a fan on it. It is an additional cost on the unit, but it's in the packet that you received, the cost of that. There is an additional water suppression system that comes on this, additional cost, and it's to keep that dust down as it's coming out the back around the hatch. So it's got, I think, a 300-gallon tank on the other side.
I can't remember what the size.
And it blows out the back right there.
So actually,
Yeah.
the discharge of the air is from this bottom.
Yeah.
And then inside this, there's a wet system.
Yeah.
That it actually wets the
So
dust.
the other style
We
used to
didn't
blow off the top,
we did not use that because we didn't put water in it.
But you'll see.
It wets the air inside there to compress or to lessen the dust. that
Yeah,
comes
but in
out.
some of these videos, you'll see, especially on the Logan Street video, where some of that dust was coming out the back. it's not, in my opinion, it wasn't a huge cloud.
Okay.
Even
So-
without the wet system, there was particles and stuff coming out of it that you'll see, which will be greatly reduced
Yeah.
with the wet, with the running the water system.
Kevin and then Steve.
So, he mentioned Logan Street. I knew this machine was coming. Obviously, I worked during the day. I would have loved to have seen it, but I talked to the mayor that morning. I sent a picture to Walt. For some reason, out of the clear blue sky, one homeowner, with no notice, raked all his yard neatly into the curb on Logan Street. 5 o'clock in the morning, I stopped and took a picture of this thing, and I sent it to Walt and Tracy. I'm like, I know the machine's coming, this might be a good demonstration. Don't know why the guy did it, but he picked it up. So that's where you'll see this machine operate.
Okay, Steve.
Yeah, just a question. As I'm reading it, it said it would require the residents to rake or blow the leaves to the back side of the curb. What about homeowners that don't have a curb?
To the edge of the street.
Okay.
Yep, correct.
So are we, I guess, gonna change policy then? You know, homeowners are responsible for the leaves. Are we trying to change the policy that the homeowners now are gonna be allowed to put everything out on the street? Is that what we're?
If the council is
You know, it could be
interested
a
in
can of
moving
worms
this
for opening
direction.
up there, cause that crew's over, I'm just saying, I want everybody to realize it's gonna really increase the workload on that department. So,
To answer your question, yes, programs will have to be modified. Because obviously you're going in a different approach to picking these up. And as I'm going through this, keep in mind, I'm not advocating one way or another on this thing. I'm just sharing what I knew. Rhonda?
So how many blocks are we looking at being able to do
Yeah.
in a daytime?
That all depends, because as the guys run the machine, they're gonna get better at it. You know, I don't know the answer to that question.
So there was the block on Chestnut, which there's a video here. I talked with Joe Davis while they were doing that, and he believed that they could start where they were at in the video, go to the end of Chestnut and come back and have it all done in 25 minutes.
And one thing to remember is that the leaves weren't that heavy in that area too.
That was the one where some of that was
Yeah.
packed a little bit. You'll
Right.
see that.
But I mean, if somebody moves their leaves from their whole yard out to the curb,
Yeah.
it wasn't that. This was just residue, basically.
Mr. Robley?
So, the city already has policies in place, you know, for leaf pickup, you know, within the bags. They set them out, you know, to the curb, and then they come by and pick it up. In essence, it just takes away the bag, you know, so they would just, the leaves would be there. We would just have to designate. The only question that might happen is if the homeowner brushes the leaves up, and I know it doesn't usually get windy until later on in the day, but, you know, has some sort of policy, because we might run into a situation where, you know, you rake the leaves up there, and by the time the truck gets out there, the leaves have blown back into the yard, and then to move, then the homeowners will whack them up there. That's why we still, it'll probably be solved because we already have multiple days we do the leaf pickup, so.
I don't see that the bag option goes completely away, but I don't think it's us picking the bags up anymore. If you wanna bag your leaves up, we can still take bagged leaves at the landfill, right? That's an option. You can still do all.
so you're saying the street crew wouldn't pick the bags up on certain days anymore?
No, I mean, I think that would be up to you guys and Mr. Landers to decide, but you worked out there, you know how labor intensive that is.
It was.
And so.
It's gonna be a learning.
Rhonda?
I mean, this, yeah,
So
of course
this is
the old
my
stuff.
only thing I'm gonna say about it, is I did my homework, because that was my job, was to do my homework on it. So, City of Clinton has a population 6,843. They have 5 full-time employees employed with their street department, and they have 2 of these machines. Now, during the time when they're doing their leaf vac program, they also bring in extra part-time work just for this program. So we have double that in 1 machine. So how are we gonna decipher which part of the town this actually goes for? Like, how are we gonna decide, like, Ward 1 this year is gonna be the ward that we're gonna do because we have 1 machine?
Good point.
Or, I mean, how are we gonna decipher which part of our city actually utilizes this machine?
To be determined.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
a
it's a
great-
learning curve.
Yeah, but before we spend how much does this machine cost? I don't-
188,000,
Before we
just
s-
under 188,000.
Before we spend that, shouldn't we have some of these answers, the only thing I'm asking? And I'm not totally against it, I mean, we need the cab for the employee.
Yeah.
That's one. This is definitely a better design than what I had to go through. I think we need for workman comp issues to protect the employee as much as possible, because these are loud machines, and I know in the past, the machines, blew all that stuff, we was breathing in, it was a different deal, but, is that pulled with a flatbed or a dump truck?
Either.
When I spoke to the city of LaSalle. They actually use a full-size dump truck, they'll pull theirs, but I think when, Lonell Industries come down and pull this machine down here, they have it on a 550.
So
And
probably
you'll see it
dump
in the video.
Well,
You can do it with either one.
The only thing I'm gonna say, folks, is we got 3 dump trucks out there, and if we can pay for this out of this, oh, there's the cab, that's good. If we have,
Oh, good segue.
if we have the money coming out of the sewer deal to pay for this, that definitely would sway my vote. But we have 3 dump trucks, 2, 6, and 8, and you can verify this, Walt, that is extremely bad out there, they're old. They were there when I got there, and I've been gone with my time and now gone 3 years, that's 25 years plus. So we have to account for that. Now, if it's, the dump trucks are this, we're gonna have to go for the dump trucks, in my opinion, because this is a wish thing. Now, if we can do it all, then so be it. But, and this is gonna put a lot more work on your crew.
Okay.
Do you think they can handle that, Walt, as far as how tight consuming?
It's gonna be a dedicated crew of 2, 5 days a week for 3 months.
Yeah, it said 90 to 120 days in your letters.
Yeah.
It's a dedicated crew of 2.
Yeah.
What we're currently doing is a dedicated crew of 10 at
One day.
$90,000.
1 day a week, though.
The leaf
No,
pickup, 3 to 4
days.
days in the bags is a crew of 6, 1 day a week at about 5.5 hours.
But another option, when I was there also, and worked really well, the backhoe and loaders go down the curb line slow and pick
And I
things.
listed that operation in the memo too, and a cost to
We've
that.
also
Yeah.
hurt people and
Well,
damaged property.
but you gotta understand that the individual who was hurt was probably going a little bit too fast down the middle of the road and hit a manhole. There was things to that. So, go ahead, Ron.
What about sticks, debris, things like that?
Yeah.
So in my memo, I mentioned the part about following direction and rules. You'll see that in this video where it actually took up some small sticks and it took care of them.
Yeah.
But if you get, somebody doesn't pay attention to what they're doing, and when they rake a larger stick, a longer stick, it's gonna jam the machine up. Where they're gonna have to open it up and get that stick out.
There
of and
was,
jam it.
during the demonstration, there was a couple sticks got sucked up.
It was right here in this area.
Yeah, further down this way. And then there was also a chunk of concrete that got sucked up in there. And it actually broke the concrete up through the back. But I will say, you do that enough and you're gonna be
Yes.
replacing parts.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
You don't want that to happen.
And it's gonna be hard, from my experience,
The
when
second
people
person's
put piles
in the
out there,
truck driving.
they throw all their
This
sticks.
is
It's hard to see that to the last second,
So
so.
one guy gets in the
Let's
cab,
watch the video.
and then the guy in the
It's a
truck
tough
up
call.
front, he has a camera and he can see the guy in the cab. So that if the guy in the cab's doing something, he knows to stay. It's a communication.
So you're gonna have video where you're gonna be able to look
Same
at one
with the other
another, and
person.
then also you'll have
Yeah.
audio where they can talk to one another.
Okay, so Rhonda mentioned that Clinton has this. I believe somebody else mentioned Mount Pulaski has this. What other
Well,
towns?
Pulaski's is a little different.
Mount Pulaski's was retrofitted.
Yeah.
A lot of towns have it.
Yeah.
Well, that's 2. What other towns?
And the limit, I mean, as far as the limit,
Okay.
what
I can
you
just keep
can't do
naming
depends
them.
on the participation.
Well, I mean,
If you
Okay.
have a great participation rate, then you're gonna run into issues with one machine.
Okay, let's go through these videos so we can see. There's about, I think collectively 7 or 10 minutes of videos. And let's get through them, then we can have a sit down. This was the very first approach to sucking them up, first time he had used it. So he's just trying to get a feel for it.
Who is that?
Michael Page.
Oh, okay.
Does
He
it suck
races
up
remote
rocks at
control
all?
cars, so he's
Yeah.
good with the joystick.
Is he still good?
I don't know. I'm assuming
He's good at it.
So this is just the learning curve.
This was the very
Yes.
first operation when they drove or operated. The gentleman from Bonell is pulling it, but he's in the truck.
This was once he got going a little bit.
What do you recommend for those that don't have curb, that have rocks?
As long as, they shouldn't be
That's
putting
what-
it in the street.
but
It
that's
should
what-
be on the parkway
This is,
grass.
this is one of those streets.
This is right down by your house.
This is Chestnut Street, corner of Chestnut. and
Oh,
Town.
yeah.
So it's gonna pick up the rocks in a case like that, isn't it?
It'll pick up some, yes, but that's no different than the sweeper sweeping them up either, so.
It honestly didn't pick up a ton of rocks. I mean, obviously, it all depends on how good the guy gets on hovering that over the ground. Obviously, you bottom it out on the ground, it's gonna start sucking things up.
And actually, in this video, the machine's a little bit close to the curb where he can be out farther.
Yeah.
Most of the videos I've watched from other cities, and I've shared those with Walt and Tracy, the city actually mounts a tire on the bottom of that so the
It'll
tube
help-
doesn't hit the
it'll suck to
ground.
the ground.
They have an
It doesn't
attachment.
suck it to the ground and stops
Yes,
a
they
lot
have
of the
tire
rocks.
attachment for that.
Yeah, cause we pay for
It just-
rock to.
What about wet leaves? Do we have to?
It'll.
There's a video for
yeah,
that.
You'll see that.
Okay, next video.
It just looks like a very slow process.
Well, these, they've only been running it 2 minutes.
Well, but it just,
Go out there on the
This is
interwebs,
getting-
people have been running it for years, it's
This
pretty
is just
slick.
right down past that
It's a
ground.
little bit farther down.
Yeah.
I don't know if you'll be able to see the sticks or not.
I don't know if I recorded him sucking the sticks out. It was further.
But they were
back this
just a
way.
little bit bigger than pencil size. I mean, they weren't real big. But it ended up busting them and sucking them in.
So I have a policy question, I guess. In your letter, it said that the homeowner would deposit their leaves on the curb or like near the front of their house. This just looks like random leaves.
Yeah, this is just
So
residue.
if
This
we pull
was-
up on a
This was
block,
naturally.
sure, just
where they
that's
ended
just
up.
there.
so you're only
If
going
we
to
pull up
target.
on a block and there's just a bunch of leaves just in it, we're not gonna pick that up, right? I mean, we're only gonna pick up piles of leaves that somebody intentionally put. If it's just leaves in
I
there
mean,
just for
something like
no
this,
reason.
we would have ran the street sweeper on to pick them up, and the street sweeper would have done fine picking them up.
Here's Logan Street.
Here's Logan where the guy
And then
raked
watch out the back. It'll be hard to tell the debris coming out.
Okay,
the
this
back.
is where the guy put them all on the street.
Right.
Yes, and right up along the curb.
which he shouldn't have done. He should have put them in the
Well, I
grass
see it
area
off to
next
the
to the
right.
curb.
I agree, but you gotta remember, if we buy this machine, we're telling everybody to do this.
No, we're telling them to
They
put them in the
shouldn't go,
grass,
but should
not
go
into the
Well,
street.
but you know what I'm saying.
And the other part is, if they leave it up in the grass, this arm, there's another video where it lifts up and it can stretch out and get leaves that are still up on the.
Well, we go around the corner and the curb's higher, so it's not that low, it's up high.
So
Now
they're
that-
moving along
see,
pretty good
Now
speed
there,
there.
yes, that does look,
But that's a small road too, compared to what you might have.
and you can see it blowing out the back.
Yeah, look at that,
That's the
right in
best,
front of the
yeah.
car.
Okay, yes, this employee's not affected.
Yeah. Now, this cab also, and I don't know that we need it, I talked with Walt, I don't think we do, but
You don't
this
need
cab
it.
also has an
No.
air condition attachment
See,
too.
now I disagree there, so.
It comes with a fan.
$6,000.
$6,000 for an air conditioner.
In the fall,
But
though,
if you're in the fall,
You know
I
how many-
think the fan and windows also open on it too.
You know how many fall days it's hot? Believe me, I've done this before, I know. October, and it's been 70s and 80s, and I'm just telling you, till you do it, of course, we had
The
to
dude in
sweep.
the cab of the vehicle has air conditioning.
I think we should have the cab. If we're gonna go this kind of money, then we
The
should do
quote, the
it.
quote you see and the number that I have in the memo is with the cab.
I don't think there's any doubt
It is
that
with the
we
cab?
have to have the cab.
I think we should though.
Without the cab,
After
it's a
seeing
safety
this, I
issue.
think Tracy and I both agree that the cab's a good idea.
I also I'd like Andrew to chime in, because in talking with Andrew about the same thing, after storms and stuff, if we can run down what we know of problem areas, this thing keeps a lot of this stuff from going down in the storm drain and ending up at his plant.
So did the street sweeper
Downtown
do that too,
especially,
though?
you get that new street sweeper we got, they can't do the bump outs and stuff. This thing could go around and just
That's the whole justification for using enterprise sewer funds.
What's the pros and cons of this versus street sweeper, Andrew?
So removal, I would delegate to Walt. I did not get to see the whole demo. I was only there for Chestnut. I watched it suck up wet, matted leaves. There were smaller sticks in
You'll
it.
get this,
All of this
there's-
right here, this has got wet leaves underneath it, and you'll see it in the video.
It doesn't pick it all up, but it picks up quite a bit of it.
Anything we can keep from getting down there is good for
A
us.
street sweeper,
And they're getting better at it.
But
a
this
street
is,
sweeper is gonna be a much faster operation. So depending on how heavy the leaves are, if the leaves are heavy, if somebody blows all their leaves into the street, you're gonna have to make multiple passes to clean it up. So you're gonna make 3 or 4 passes along the curb to sweep it up. Where you could make 1 pass with this machine, it's gonna take you a while because you're gonna have to go back and forth.
Time is
can you
money.
just go to the next video, Joe?
Well, I guess what leads back to my question is right now, the code is they're not allowed to put their leaves out there.
Here's the wet leaves.
But are we changing that? I guess.
Well, Craig, they can't put them in the street.
No, well, you know.
I understand, but
Yeah.
it's still the same rules that we have now. They wouldn't be able to put them in the street.
Huh?
They should put
And
them
the
Well,
other
we
thing
are
that-
going to allow them to do, if we get this, we're going to allow them to clear their entire yard, back, front, whatever, and put them out on the edge, not in the road.
But how many people actually do that?
Well,
That's
the-
just it. How many households actually take care of their leaves?
Oh,
I can tell you on Campus View Drive,
You like fast
it's
forward
5.
Yeah, well, there's a lot.
I rake my neighbor's leaves a lot.
This is a video of them dumping it once it gets filled up so much.
And that brings up another concern to me, is do you have enough people participating in this to justify the cost?
Well,
At $90,000 a year for what we're spending now, and Andrew can help, I think it justifies the cost. We're gonna lower the 90,000 down by at least half.
It's really ground up good. John?
In regards to the policies, like I said, stated previously, we already have policies on certain
That's it.
days, you know, put the bags out, you know, and then we'll come and pick them up. And the homeowner, on those respective days, they put the bags out and we come and pick them up. I don't really see a whole lot of just, you know, bags of leaves that just sit out in perpetuity that they put out on days that we don't tell them to. I would presume that something similar would happen here, I'll say on such and such days, we're gonna be picking up the leaves and people will put them on their curb at that point.
Yep. So the other part, I think it's in the memo, is if the council decides to move forward, they are on back order. We wouldn't even see it until mid-season 2025.
If we seen it by the leaf season of 25,
Yeah.
we don't.
Is this just 1 pass in every neighborhood?
No.
Maybe.
You're talking about, we currently do our leaf pickup 6 weeks. So you're gonna have, that's what I said, it's gonna be 90 to 120 days. And from my research, most communities do it in zones. So you would have a zone that you would work in for a week. And you would just basically an area, and you do that area. And once you finish that area, then you move to the next zone. But you're gonna have to do that, you know, several weeks to make sure that, because leaves don't all fall at the same time.
Okay. Craig and then Kevin. And then,
So obviously, if we go this direction, you're gonna have a crew doing this, you're still gonna have the sweepers going, correct?
Correct.
Are we still doing the option of the backhoe loader and
This
going
one-
in areas, and then you know how we used to take the street sweepers and follow it?
Yeah, this would eliminate the back of the heavy equipment part of the,
Is there a particular reason why you wanna eliminate that?
because if you get this machine, that will take care of
That was-
in a much
Cleaner.
efficient way.
And Mr. Davis even mentioned that when the demo was going on, Joe. I actually talked with him during some of this, and he even agreed to that.
Where you have a very heavy area, you would run the back through there and clean it up, and then after that, you'd run the street sweepers through
Okay.
to finish it up.
Just as long as everybody up here knows that once this gets started, everybody's like, well, I'm not hauling my leaves to the dump anymore. It's all going to the curb. You could see some massive piles, which if that's what we're all gonna agree on and his crew can keep up with it, it's gonna be.
There's gonna be, if people put the leaves out to the curb, they could be there for weeks before we get to them.
Mr.
Yeah.
Brennan.
Obviously, I wanted to bring this forward because a lot of people have reached out to me, mostly elderly people. I think it's gonna be a learning curve. I think I would love to start out with one machine. The cost savings, you're gonna eliminate some of this work. And as one of the employees, there was 2 conversations with 2 employees, both of them senior members of Walt's group, is what's not factored in Walt's memo is workman's comp issues and equipment damage, our equipment damage, and the subsequent damage that happens to personal property when we're running big equipment down the street. You know, everybody's as careful as they can, but every year there seems to be something that gets hit, broken, damaged. This machine would help eliminate some of that. So, you know, I feel we should invest in it in one. Let's see how it goes. If we need a second one, we'll learn there. As far as the education of the public, I don't personally foresee people that are particular about their yard are still going to take their leaves out to the landscape waste facility because they want their yard cleaned on Tuesday, not rake it out front, not knowing when the city is going to come by and pick those leaves up. And then a few weeks ago when I mentioned it to Steve, how many people are actually going to change what they do? How many people are going to go, I never cleaned my yard, now this city's got a machine, now I'm going to start cleaning my yard. So I think we're overthinking there needs to be a thought process, but I do think we're overthinking the learning curve and the problems that citizens are going to cause us with this machine. To me, the machine was time and money. We have a limited number of employees out there, street department. If we can take what we use to clean up, I think Walt said 6 guys, if we can take that 6 guys and cut that in half, say it takes 3 for this machine, one person that walks along and kicks the wet leaves or picks up moves some sticks or whatever, I think it's a big plus. Then we're freeing up half the street crew to actually work on sidewalks, potholes, curbs, and gutters instead of picking up leaves.
Ms. McClellan and then Mr. Eimer.
So we're gonna do away with bagging the leaves and putting them on the curb, correct? Is there some kind of hybrid where people could still bag their leaves and put them out there and the city could pick them up maybe for the first year or the first season until we know what's going on and we could also pick them up? I think that to just eliminate the bagged program right off the bat could be an issue if we're not sure how well it's gonna work and who's gonna put. I just wondered if there's a hybrid we could.
I would say that there could be a transitional season. That's how you're gonna know how many people use it and how many don't, right?
The ones that put their bags out, you simply put a note on their door and say, this is what we offer now. Next year, if you want this done, they would have to contact the city and say, when are you coming by? And I'll put my leaves out front.
We're not gonna, I think.
We're not gonna go door to door, but I mean.
People start scheduling leaf pickups.
Yeah.
Walt's crew is never gonna know.
It's a learning curve is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
There's some communities that could charge for the service.
The technology definitely has gotten better, obviously, since I've done it. I can swing with a vote for it if we got the cap, because I'm all about protecting the employees. I've been around this type of equipment. It's loud. You've got ear issues. You got breathing issues. It has gotten better because it's blown out differently. It blew out the top before, which was a disaster for the guy on the ground.
Yeah.
If Andrew's department, if we could go with that funding, because I just want y'all to remember, we have, and I'm sure Walt can testify to this, we got 3 dump trucks in bad shape out there. Am I correct? 2, 6, and 8 that is really getting
Yes,
bad?
We have got 2 new dump trucks, but we still need to update our fleet.
So if we were to buy the machine and take away from the dump trucks, I would be a no vote, because we need to keep them dump trucks going in. He has got a couple new ones, I get it. But if we have a snowstorm, you need all 8 of them trucks out. So
I would vote for the cab.
Yeah, I'll
Both
vote for the.
employees I spoke to.
I'll vote for, and I did talk to, half a dozen of employees today. They're on the fence about it. They didn't say yes or no. They were,
I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
All the guys.
they're
around
unsure of
the
it.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that. If we've got the money to do it without affecting other equipment that we need to buy, then I guess I could go along with it. But if it's gonna affect us getting dump trucks or other equipment we need, I think that's not good.
I'd like to point out the sawdust issue. When we're cutting trees down alongside the road, in my ward, we cut a bunch of trees down on McLean Street, on some corners. And I informed Walt this, that you know, when you're cutting the trees down and you're doing that, there's a lot of sawdust, and we brought the street sweeper by. I'm not a huge fan of the street sweeper because I've mentioned it to Tracy and several times and taken pictures. It does bring out a lot of wet material out into the road, and they make the turn, then it's just smeared out in the road. This machine could also suck up all that sawdust that's left on the side of the road when we're cutting down trees and stuff.
You make a good point. That's my next question. If we grind stumps,
Yes.
will it suck all that out?
So,
That's,
talking to other people about the machines and their multiple uses. There is the gentleman that was there with Bonell said there is a community that uses one of these machines to suck, after you grind a stump, to suck up that material.
that is
But
big.
as far as clean up after tree work, it wouldn't work.
No, but the stump grinding, because that's huge.
Yep. Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Yeah, I think as Rhonda mentioned, the smaller community having two machines. Well, for your department to be a successful department, would you rather have, because I think you'll need more than one machine to do it adequately, because I think people will start using it more and more.
I do too.
But would you rather have two of these type of pieces of equipment, or would have money spent on these, or is there money spent better other equipment for your department?
So, one of the goals is to update our truck fleet, like Mr. Heimer said. We currently have another year on a lease to own on a truck that we have one more payment on, and that'll be paid for going into the next budget year. And when you buy those trucks, you don't want to space them too close together either, because when you start replacing those vehicles, you don't want to have
whammy.
Buy everything at once. And as far as getting two of these machines, you wouldn't want to do it at first. You would, because you don't know what's going to happen. There's too many unknowns. And a couple other comments I have is, as far as workman's comp and that stuff, that's why you see an automated machine. That's the only way I would go, just to protect the employees. They're not on the street, they're not physically, because a lot of these machines, the tubes, you work by hand.
Yeah.
So you're constantly on the street, moving back and forth, and one workman comp claim could pay for a machine. So that's why you see why my recommendation is the automated machine. So, and another thing is, you know, as far as the leaf pickup and things, the leaf pickup takes place 1 day a week. It takes a crew of 6, about 4.5 to 5 hours, 1 day a week for 6 weeks. Okay, you're talking about this machine being on the street with 2 employees, but it's going to be on the street 8 hours a day,
5 days a week.
For 5 days a week for
3 months.
60 to 90,
If we have a
90
winter
to
like
120
this,
days.
if we have a winter like this, you
You're
can have
actually
more.
probably will have more labor costs, just in this section of it though. But like Mr. Bateman said, it's gonna, you know, it's gonna eliminate the heavy equipment pickup, for sure.
My question, well, if we get this machine, would you, we do stump grinding, usually in the fall, whatever. Would you grind a series of stumps, do 10, 12, whatever, and then send this machine out to clean that hole up, which is, right now we drag it out, it's difficult.
So basically, the way we operate.
Would that help justify the machine?
I mean, we don't grind a ton of stumps. I mean, it'd be beneficial for sure. But we do that now. We grind, we'll grind 15 or 20 stumps or how many ever we can get done. And then after we're finished, depending on the season, we'll go clean those out. And then
And you could
whether
use this
we
machine.
level out the grindings to make the hole safe until we can fill it with dirt and seed it when the grass is gonna grow.
So then
Or
instead
we
of
clean
using
it
the
out
leaf machine
completely.
for leaf, we're gonna use the leaf machine during the leaf season for stump grinding.
Well,
Well, we do stump grinding spring. I mean, it's
spring
not
too,
just
it's
season.
not just, yeah.
They
it's-
do it in the wintertime. They
And
do
that
it
would be a
last summer.
one-day deal, Rhonda. If he ground 10 stumps or 12 stumps, that machine could go, has a list, goes on boom, boom, boom. A dirt crew could follow right up, fill them in.
Sweet gum balls.
So how,
Mr. Downs.
the tree would have to be right next to the road in order for us to.
Most of them are.
Our city
Yeah.
trees, yeah.
There would only be city trees, which are.
So any trees that are in a park or.
Well, I mean, if it's a park that we own, we could drive up, that's gonna be.
You
a
can't
small-
drive that up on the grass, can you? I mean, wouldn't
Yeah,
that
sure
tear
we could.
everything up?
Why couldn't you?
It's just a trailer.
It's a $200,000 piece of equipment. I'm not comfortable
gotta
just
drive
taking it
it.
off the
The
road.
idea is to get
You
it
don't
as
drive it
close
on
to
there when it's
the edge of
wet.
the road as possible.
Yeah,
No,
It
you
gets
could
done.
drive it up off the road to get
Sam, I ain't gonna-
something in a park, but that's gonna be, that's gonna be very.
All right, well, hey, maybe it can be worked for tree stumps, but I guess what I'm getting at is this is just a lot of money, and there's just too many unknowns for me to be comfortable with this.
Yeah.
I just
Ms.
wanted to say
McCall.
that.
Would that help with our landscape waste at all? With looks like it grinds it a little finer, would that help at all?
A little bit that we do pick up, you know, it's gonna save you a little space, but it's not gonna be a big change.
Mr. Sanders?
Yeah, no, I'm with Sam on this. We're talking about two major road projects where we're spending millions of dollars. I'm not against this, but this is not the right time to get it.
But the funds, here's the thing.
It
The-
doesn't,
the-
why does it matter where the funds are coming from? We just keep spending
Because
money.
we cannot
and
use,
spending money
we
and
cannot
spending
use
money.
sewer funds on road projects.
No, but we just
No.
keep spending people's money for things that do we need
Okay, I
necessarily?
know.
No.
The amount
There
of
was
people
15
that-
people
Ms.
that just
Ross.
came here with a sewer problem that we can use that money for. I'd rather
we
use
use that money for?
this
So
sewer
that's a good
enterprise
question.
fund for stuff, I'm sorry, for,
Ms. Rolfs.
There is a lot going on here right now.
That's okay.
I don't know what
The
we're
money-
gonna do.
Ms. Rolfs has the floor.
The
Sorry.
money that you mentioned, would you have another use for it if we didn't use it to help buy this
Yeah, we could.
equipment?
I could spend every last dollar there repairing stuff. That is, we have to prioritize what we do. We also do not want to get in a situation where the sewer enterprise fund is overtaxed. I
Yes.
believe when I got to town, Mr. Conzo, and this is all due to council decisions, budget committees, the enterprise fund was roughly $4 million, 4.2.
4.3, yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, so we have grown it, but keep in mind, some of that growth of that fund is planned for CIP and phosphorus. I do not believe $200,000 would overtax that fund, but it is a decision that is up to you.
But is it
But it would-
$200,000 that can be used somewhere else?
But
It could be.
Ms. Rolfs.
it would help the sewer as far as keeping, and of course, where we live, we have outlets where the leaves collect and they go down into the sewer. Not everybody has those because they don't have the curbs. But it would help keep, you feel, that from going into the sewer, which is important or not important?
It is absolutely important. Anything that we can keep out of going down there is better. Sweet gum balls, walnuts, let's try to keep them
We got a lot of those gumballs.
Over
too.
by where Ron Keller lives, where all of them sweet gum.
We're gonna be
trees are.
repairing the system we just put in place sooner. And that's the other thing to consider, and I'm neither for nor against the VAC, I think it could be used properly, but I also understand the cost of the idea of spending money. The enterprise sewer fund is healthy because we implemented a tiered structure for the rate increases when we did. And it is healthy because of that. There was an option to raise it an additional tier, and past councils were wise in saying, no, I don't think we need that. If we start exhausting the enterprise sewer fund, that's a reality you gotta deal with. Mr. Parrott.
Yeah, just, as you mentioned that, and maybe Peggy has some ideas on this. When Logan Correctional closes, will we still be getting water payments for the sewer payments
Well,
out of there?
From Lincoln, right? They're not both closing down.
Right, one will, I mean, how badly does that hurt the city, just on those types of, I don't know what the breakdown is on that.
They don't pay us now.
Yeah, I mean, they owe us now quite a bit of money, so just hope they pay before they close.
There'll be a loss.
It's gonna affect us.
Mr. Baker.
It's gonna affect us.
So, I started this, so I just wanna make one last sales pitch. You know, I started a conversation with the mayor, Walt, got a demonstration, brought Andrew in because, conversations of the sewer, stuff that runs down the sewer that we don't need down at his plant that we process. Sweet gumballs and walnuts was a big one. I didn't know we processed that many walnuts down at the sewer plant, but it's quite a few. I know Rhonda keeps saying we're just keep spending money, but we have to spend. You have to spend money to save money, and this is going to end up saving the city money in insurance, labor, repairs, maintenance. So once the demonstration was run, speaking with two of the most senior people that work out the street department, they both agreed it would be a good investment. They both agreed they wouldn't want to do it unless it had the cab on it. They saw the time, the savings, freeing up manpower. So is it a good investment? Yes, I think it is. It's an investment. It's a good investment for the sewer department. The sewer fund can help pay for it. It's an investment in the street department as it frees up time, labor, and money. It's an investment for the city as a whole because it frees up insurance and other claims that we've had over the years with the program we have now. You know, I guess you sit and you got to look at it from a business perspective. If you invest $200,000, will it end up saving you money? My thoughts after all my discussions with people and research is yes, it will.
Mr. Parrott and then Mr. Reimer.
Yeah, you know, if it was a business, you would actually want to see the numbers, the savings first. You'd want to see the numbers. You want to see them. You know, how much is this going to save me in labor? Because I don't think it's going to save us in labor.
I don't either.
At all. Because he's talking 90, maybe 120 days, 5 days a week. You know, you're running that with 2 guys. You're not saving labor. I don't think.
You're
And that's
not,
why
because they don't even run the
when I was
bike
working in
like that.
business, you want to actually see the numbers
The bike leaves.
and compare them side by side. It's easy to say, yeah, it's going to save money. Well, how much money did we spend on workers' comp, you know, over the last 10 years, you know, or how much did we, you know, have an insurance claim? Let's see those numbers. But I don't think, and then you can also do the labor as well. How much, you know, are we sending 2 guys 1 day a week, or 3 guys 1 day a week?
For the current program?
For the current program.
We run 3 trucks with 2 crew members per truck, and they do it on a Wednesday, and they run for 4.5 to 5 hours.
So we can easily get numbers for labor, how much it's gonna cost.
He's got $90,000 in there.
But he doesn't compare that to, you know, what, maybe I didn't see it, but 90,000 for what we currently spend in labor,
So
and then.
it's gonna go up.
And then if you do it 120 days of 2 men, two employees, 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, I think he was saying. Let's do the numbers and look at numbers.
Yes.
So, Walt, can you explain the operation that takes place down on 10th Street with the end loaders and all of that stuff? Because the way it was presented to me was that operation takes several days or weeks. It is several guys out there in various pieces of equipment, and an individual said to me from your crew, instead of having 6 or 7 guys out here doing this, you could put 2 guys in that, and 1 in the truck and 1 in the cab, and then the other 4 can go do other things in the city.
So
That was straight from the guys in the street
The
department.
operation where we use the
I gotta say something.
the operation where we clean up the leaves with the backhoe and the end loader, that's a few days of operation. That's not something that is an extended operation. Those are places where you'll have a lot of leaves on the ground. And what they do is they just go down the whole street, clean the street. You might have 8 guys on the crew operating. you know, we might do that let's just say we might do that for a week over the whole leaf season. It's not a continuous
So
operation.
it's hard to quantify.
Are
Mr.
you-
Reimer, then Mr. Conzo.
Are you referring to the backhoe loader? Was that what you?
You know it better than I do.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you.
I can tell you this much from being there, that we could do the entire leafy area, which is a pretty good sized section, with the backhoe. Yes, it takes the whole crew, but you got backhoe, loader, 3 dump trucks, 4 or a lot of times we had 3 dump trucks, 4 dump trucks, 2 sweepers going, and we could clear that whole area in about a day or so. And because we always hit that. We didn't do it all over town, but we did it in that area because we call it the leafy area. It's the heaviest, and of course you wait till all the leaves get down and they're heavy. But if the operators are going at a normal, just low speed down the curbs, it does work. And then us being in the street sweepers, we'd step back, we'd follow it and polish it up. The whole area would be done in a day or so. But you know, thing is about the leaf vac, yes, it's a nice machine. It's gotten a lot better. I agree with that. But people are going to start, for one, when you say you can put it out by the road, not in the curb, they're not going to listen to that. They don't listen now. They put stuff out on the road. It's just like the demonstration. He was never supposed to put that out on Locust Street, did it anyway. People are going to do it. That's just the way they are. You're going to get a lot of people putting everything out there once they know they can do that. Now, it may not be in the road, but or whatever, but a lot of people are going to do it, and that crew's going to have trouble. You've seen how slow it went. It's going to have trouble keeping up with it. I mean, I don't know, I got mixed feelings towards it. It's definitely gotten a lot better since I was there, but street sweepers are pretty quick at it, and when you get truck drivers to go with them, it's hard to beat it. As a sweeper operator and a truck driver, I was jumping. I could fill a truck up on the heavy parts of the year within minutes. You know, 5-10 minutes, I dump a load, and then you get 2 loads on a dump truck. And there was a lot of times I could fill back up and still be sitting there and waiting on him to get back if I only had 1 truck driver. That's how fast it was. So it is a lot of money. Dude, we got to think about that. I mean, I agree with Rhonda. We could spend $180,000 on manholes we got bad. We have catch basins bad. If it was up to me, every one of these manholes and catch basins would be dealt with. Because we got cars hitting manholes. Andrew and I have talked about a manhole machine. It's called Mr. Manhole. Excuse me. That we're trying to get a demonstration for, and if that demonstration comes out, I would like to see everybody that can make it. Because it sounds like a very good way of fixing all these manholes that are sunk down and our tires are hitting them and the whole 9 yards. And we have a lot of basins in our areas that are bad, that are broke up, that need to be fixed of some sorts. So
Mr. Manhole was proposed to the council in the past by Alderman Bauer.
Right.
So we've seen a demonstration of it. It was a different
Video.
council.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I have not seen it, but
Different council.
if that has been perfected and works, that's something to think about, and it's a reasonable cost.
Mr. Conzo.
Thank you, Mayor. I just keep going back to this cost. This is a lot of money. And if you're gonna spend this, you know, at least think about this and don't do it in haste. And even more importantly, if you're gonna do it, don't go out and buy 2 of them until you see what the results are with the first one. Otherwise, you're gonna spend $475,000. This savings of $90,000, I still don't really see that. You're not saving $90,000, you're just spending it differently. You know, which I understand. And you're not investing in anything. It's not an investment, it's an expenditure, no matter how you look at it, because you're using it to purchase a depreciating asset.
No problem. And if the council permit me, I'd like to make a comment as a constituent as opposed to a lawyer.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right. So, I live in the city, and what you're kind of looking at here is more of a service to the constituents than anything else. I get to go out, I have to buy the bags. You know, it seems like to me like 5 handfuls of leaves, fit in the bags, and that's a bit of an exaggeration, but it's not much. And it's a bit of a, I find it kind of annoying to get all those leaves in bags, especially when it's my neighbor's leaves that blow in my yard and I have to pick them up, but you know, it is what it is. But I happen to think that just raking them to the curb is a bit easier. And you're looking at like essentially additional service, cost to modernize, new people moving to town, look for these types of services, you know, whether or not, let's see what the city provides. That requires investment, you know, in order to do as such. If the city told me that, you know, irrespective that, you know, say on a day that they were gonna come and pick up bags, that instead, that rake your leaves out at the front, we're gonna come and hit Ward 1, you know, this respective day, and we're gonna hit, you know, next week Ward 2 or whatnot. I do not know how it would work, but to me, I view it as a service to the constituents, a service that potentially the constituents would want, and that would make the town a little bit more appealing for people who are looking to move into it. That's all.
Mr. Heimer?
I do agree with the service part of that. I get that. But I own several rental properties in town, and the easiest way to deal with the leaves, mulch them with your mower. Because I do it all the time. And when I mulch all my yards, and I do my neighbors, so I don't, of course I go the extra mile, I help my neighbors out. But it gets rid of all of it, if you run over them enough, it goes clear to a powder. That is the fat, of course I ride a zero turn. So, I mean, if you're out there pushing mowing, it's gonna be a little bit more difficult. But one thing we could encourage too is that people mulch their leaves more. I mean, I get the service part of it. I mean, I would love to see us be able to do a lot of things for the people of this town. I'm all for that. Bloomington Normal doesn't, but they have a tax base that pays for that, as we do not. So that's where the problem also lies. I mean, mulching definitely is the fastest and easiest way to do it. You know.
Okay,
disagree.
Couple questions for the discussion. Because we've been talking about the cost and things like that, right? And I agree with you. I'll mulch whether we get this thing or not. I think it looks nicer. But this option, in addition to the service to the community, it also creates a better work environment for those men that work out there. It's a safer way to do things. They're literally going and lugging those bags by hand into the back of a truck, then they're driving to the landfill, and then they're offloading it. It's more labor intensive. I'm not saying that's a good reason to do it. I'm just saying something to consider. And I don't know, I'm gonna ask Wald, or Craig can probably answer. What does this do from a landfill perspective? Because this machine actually does mulch that stuff down to a fine, not powder, but it compacts it. What work goes into the big piles of leaves that are at the landfill right now?
I haven't figured that out yet.
You can see them from the roadway.
So basically, you know, our containment area right now is full. So what we'll do is we'll dig that out and basically make a big berm out of it and keep rotating it, trying to get it to compost. Once it composts, then we'll try to figure out whether we're gonna land apply it on the facility or be able to do something different with it. But it'll reduce the volume some, but it's not gonna be it's not gonna make a big difference.
It will compost down faster.
It'll
probably.
break down faster.
Yeah, but it's just a tough road. I mean, the best bet is if everybody's mulching it in their yards. That's the perfect scenario, but obviously you're not gonna have everybody do that. So now the question is, and you're right about the labor intensity on the crew, you run a risk, because I've picked up these bags of leaves and some of them can be dang heavy. So, and I'm all for services to people in Lincoln, but somewhere along the line, where do we pick and choose that too? I mean, we're all responsible for our property and our areas.
Yeah.
Anything we can do for the citizens, I'm usually for. It's a tough road. What do we do?
It's a big
But like Mr. Gonzo said, it is a lot of money. And it's gonna be a very time-consuming machine because it, as you watch, it still goes slow. I mean, so, I don't know, it's tough.
We just bought a big tractor and mower to mow next to it.
Well, probably if you put out there, do we want that or do we want the manholes fixed?
Well, I bet you
They
if
would
you-
go with the manholes.
You betcha.
because-
Manholes and catch
If that was
basins
an
that are-
option, but we haven't talked about that.
Yeah, I'm all for fixing any manholes and roads and catch basins. I mean,
Miss Bauer loved that manhole machine. She really wanted.
I
a
hope you
t-shirt
can get a
that
demonstration of that. I really do.
Followed up again last week.
I know, I can't believe
Costs way
it.
more than $2
Would
million.
And I
manhole-
encourage you
would
folks,
manhole
I just want to say one more thing.
covers be
If
covered
he
by
gets a
your-
demonstration of that manhole machine, if
manhole
you can
covers
make
be
it,
covered by you guys?
I think you should.
It-
I think it's a
in
good
the
thing.
budget?
Yes,
Okay.
that's if we can get a demo.
Of Mr.
Totally
Manhole.
different.
Okay, let's address the leaf back thing, and then we can, Mr. Manhole with the death.
Regular agenda.
Do you wanna put it on the regular agenda and vote or not?
You think we should table it and talk about it again or not?
There's only a handful of employees out at the street and alley department. and it
Well, I
seemed-
talked to your
it
senior
seemed-
guy you're talking about, and he doesn't say the same thing you say, so I don't know, I'm not for sure exactly where you got that, but I talked to the senior guy today, so, he was,
Send me the text message.
well, that's, and I'm
Okay.
sure, I'm
So
not saying you didn't get it, but.
We are or are not putting this on the regular agenda?
Well, can we do, can we look at manhole, the manhole thing, or is that,
Well, we can, but that won't take care of leaves.
no, but we can only spend the money on one thing.
Well, the question before the council is the agenda item, the
Okay.
leaf fact. You can-
I'd like to see an actual demonstration. I wish I could have been out there. I didn't know about it, so. Yeah, I think we need
Well,
another.
it sounds like there's questions about pros and cons as well, and
Mm.
savings. And there's, even if the council decides to move forward with this, you're not gonna see this thing show up until 2025. If you wanna postpone this discussion and let Walt pull some information together, you can do that, but it will postpone.
I think that's a good idea.
I mean, I don't know what other information you want me to pull together.
To me, you're just gonna have to do your best guess assessment on how you currently tackle the leaves.
That's in the memo.
Rhonda,
So
you think
how
we
many,
should
how
table
many
it?
man hours will it save you?
I think I'm an over.
It's not gonna save any man hours in my opinion.
Well,
I have it written and broke down
We could spend
in
money
my,
somewhere else.
on my
I think
notes.
that's what the council needs to see. Mr. Bateman?
I also want to clarify that we're sitting here knocking around dump trucks and stuff. Dump trucks cannot be purchased with the sewer enterprise zone.
Yeah, that's right.
So when we say we're spending money, the way government works is you have different purses of money. You don't have one big purse. So yes, we're spending money, but we're spending money out of an account that has specific things that you can purchase out of that account. And this is one of those things.
But we have a lot of manholes and catch basins and sewer problems. We just seen that tonight from those folks, so that's another issue we gotta think about, is all I'm saying. You know, what if we're gonna get in a big can of worms with this? I think it should be tabled until we figure out what's gonna happen at Campus View. Because that is gonna be a big expense. Am I right on saying that? I'm not saying let's forget about it, but until we see what the engineer says about that and what, we gotta help those people, folks. I mean, they need our help. I know it's a bad deal that the forefathers caused years ago on how that's all done, but they are paying sewer rates. They have some rights. And we've gotta, I think we should hold off. Let's just put it on the back burner for now until we figure out what that cost is gonna be at Campus View. I feel we need to help them.
Yeah, I think we are helping them though.
Yeah, but we don't know what that cost is gonna be, yeah, and that's all I'm saying, you know. I think we should table it, in my opinion, and think about it later on. I mean, it's not something we have to.
We don't have to take, we don't, this is a cow.
I know. So, I'm looking around the room, you'd like to postpone.
I would like to hold off. If I gotta vote, I'm gonna vote no.
I know.
Kevin, it's
Rhonda
probably good to
definitely-
push it off, because I don't know if you're gonna, if the votes are there right now.
That's fine, I've pushed it off I've been sitting here now for 4 years.
Well, if this were my.
It's not a bad
Well,
idea, Kevin.
I don't-
I'm not saying it's a terrible idea.
Yeah, I don't
know that the votes
disagree.
are there.
It's not a bad idea. We have. other
I'm just
means.
happy I actually got somebody to think about it instead of just poo-pooing it like, well, that's the way we've always done it, we ain't gonna change now, and then we wreck a car, or smash a backhoe, or whatever, you know, and then
never
we,
wrecked
oh,
no-
wait.
We never wrecked no
Okay,
cars. where we
so
had
in the
that.
interest of time, we're reading the room, we are not. putting
Not
this
off of
on
that
the
deal, we
agenda.
didn't.
Correct?
Correct.
No, they weren't. They were digging.
Unless,
some-
unless you are adamant, it doesn't appear that there's enough support to put it on the agenda. Okay. So we are not putting item number 10 on the agenda. Okay.
Could I get some direction so if you wanna see more information, what would you like to see?
I would recommend trying to quantify.
I have it broke down in my notes when I put my memo together. So would you like me to throw something together and send it out to the council?
I don't think it could hurt. At least the council will have the information.
I think,
Ms. McClellan.
I think what Steve was asking particularly was payroll. What's it gonna do to payroll? I think, was that about the
Yeah,
business?
because Walt just, I mean, he just said that he doesn't think it's going to save on
Yeah.
salaries, right?
Yeah.
And so if we could just kind of get a comparison, you know, of what we currently spend, what the estimate on this is, this kind of gives you an idea. I mean, when you throw out there, it's a cost savings, well, let's see the cost savings.
So if you're gonna do that, I want a manpower perspective, as in, instead of 8 people going out and collecting leaves, you're now sending 2, so
Yeah.
what can those other 6 people be
But you-
doing?
So
that's the
hold on.
difference.
You're not
You
gonna
have
save-
4 seasons. I mean,
You're
that
not gonna
crew's
save
got.
on manpower, because.
No.
Correct, you're gonna
because all you're
redirect the
doing is
manpower.
You're reallocating the existing resource. The only way to save on manpower is to eliminate the number of people, and
No,
we
Yes.
it's,
are not talking.
so
about
I'm
that.
misspeaking, it's not a manpower savings, it's, I have a lot of people tell me, we spend a lot of time at the street and alley department not working on streets and alleys, because we're doing other things.
Well-
That's the whole point. What, if we free up 6 guys, what can they
But
be
that's a-
doing while 2 guys are picking up leaves?
That's a whole different
That's whole different,
beast.
yeah.
Because that is, and I'm not saying that they're wrong, but what I'm saying is, they have an outsider's perspective on the work that takes place in street and alleys,
Yeah.
and you need to ask questions.
Yeah.
Because there are reasons, I have done it, even myself. I've saw something, and instead of jumping to a conclusion, I pick up a phone and call Walt and say, why is this happening? He gives me an answer. So.
You know, folks, we have 4 seasons, and in those seasons, you have to do those things.
Yep.
In the winter, you plow snow, take care of sidewalk. In the fall, you pick up leaves. You're not pouring concrete usually, and we've done it some, but it's real hard when you got all the leaves down because it gets in the concrete. During leaf season, you pick up leaves, and that's what the crew should be focused on. In the spring, we trim trees before the sap goes up. In the summer, you're mowing grass. You have 4 seasons, and you have to do accordingly. Sometimes the seasons drag into the other season a little bit, but that's what we have. I mean, we shouldn't be doing concrete work unless we have to for some reason in November, October. We should be focusing on the leaves. Then we gotta get ready for winter. Then we gotta get ready for spring. That's how we gotta do it.
You know what the
Yeah.
funny part is?
Okay.
You just named 4 seasons and not once did you say repair streets.
Okay, let's not open up another. can
Yeah,
and go
that's
down
it.
a
Because we're
rabbit
not on street repair right now,
Okay.
Kevin, that's why.
We're not putting this item on the agenda. That brings us down to announcements. I have a couple. Does anybody have an announcement they'd like to share prior? Okay, first announcement is ribbon cut. This Friday at noon, the new building on Kickapoo Street, that is the home for Melacrene, the new boardroom, and the Copper and Oak businesses will be doing a ribbon cut Friday at noon. So if you can attend and you're available, please do so.
I
Ms.
think
Ross.
we all know what Mellow Cream is. What are the other 2?
Copper and Oak is a bourbon/craft beer bar.
Okay.
And the boardroom is a room that sits in between both businesses and can be rented out as space for meetings, parties, things like that.
Did you say Friday at noon?
Friday at noon. And that is at the old, where the old pink monstrosity used to be on Kickapoo Street.
It's just
The old garage.
that you can rent.
Okay. Next up is Coffee with the Mayor is this Saturday
Are we allowed to have
at
coffee
Guest
with you?
House. I always ask one alderman and one department head. Ms. Rawls said, I've asked her to attend. Mr. Bounds is gonna attend. I hope you remember Saturday for Coffee with the Mayor. I know you gotta drive for that one. If others would like to show up, you're certainly welcome to, but keep in mind the Open Meetings Act. It's not an official
I would just
meeting.
give you a hard time.
So, no, we've had it, like
I
a
would do
couple
it with you if you
aldermen
wanted
show
me
up.
to, so.
The mayor asked me to attend, but if someone else wants to go.
It's Mr. Rolfs.
And you
I
were there
asked-
one time, once 3 aldermen gets there, one has
Dave
to
and I have been
leave.
there before.
Yeah.
So.
So
I was
who's
there
going
next
next
time
time?
though.
Ms. Rolfs.
So can you have another alderman?
You're
Or not?
welcome to
You
join
can
if
have
you'd
2
like.
aldermen.
Is that loud?
I
You can
try-
have 2.
I try to have one attend with me, for sure. And I try to encourage people to come.
We're two different wards, that's
Show
why.
up, I
I
get
know.
to stay in the other
So that
ones
means
have to
nobody
leave.
else go get coffee at Guest
Yeah,
House in
and
the
we were
morning
two
on
different
You are
wards.
Saturday.
welcome to attend.
Don't go the other way.
Yes, just don't all, if 2 or 3 show up, do not sit in the back and talk city business. That's constituted a meeting and we'd be in trouble. So it's about the people, so. Okay, next is,
Only had one person.
there was, Ms. O'Donohue was involved in an email chain about GFL. And we got to the bottom of that. There's been some discrepancies on bills. I'm not gonna sit here and try to explain it to you. There's a memo that I shared with the council earlier. I posted it to the city Facebook page. It's already getting some feedback on it. And so go out, if you're confused why you got a bill that's $1.90, then go take a look at it. It'll explain it.
It's confusing.
Yeah.
I liked all of them.
When does that contract come up?
March. 2027.
2027.
Yeah.
We're still
Okay.
$8 under what they're charging.
And also, I wrote this down as a reminder, even though we had the discussion tonight. Please look into the sewer line protection programs that are available. The city has put one out and went through that process. There are others that you can choose from, but we have a failing infrastructure. It's not, and not everything is critical, but when your sewer line collapses,
It is.
you've got problems. You're cleaning up other things, and so please look into that. Ms. O'Donohue.
Andrew, is it something like that program that would help the people on Campus View Drive when it comes to the point where they need to tie into the new system? Would something like that help with that or not?
I am not gonna pretend to be an insurance expert. I do not believe that would be applicable for a retie. Now, most things are negotiable in life. If you had an insurance policy and you had a failure on that line, I would suggest talking to whoever your provider is, and let's say the solution that we were talking about tonight is already in place, you've got an avenue to connect to, have that conversation with them. Like, hey, we can either fix this thing over here that is a private asset for hundreds of feet, or we could spend the money to tie in over here. One of them is a much more permanent solution.
The problem with, I had that discussion with Bill and them, cause I've met with them privately before, is the current insurance that we offer, and I think the American Water offers the same kind of thing.
Yeah, Illinois American Water
Is,
Resources.
it insures your line from your house to the sewer line. So the problem they're having is, say that was a city sewer, it's that line that's,
But when it comes to having to hook a new line in from your house to the new city, that's gonna be your expense.
Yes.
Is that something that having insurance will help
I would
take
think
care
if
of
your line
that
failed,
expense?
it should.
I would guess in the event of a failure or a collapse of the line, that, because they're gonna have to repair the line as part of the insurance claim, right? So they would probably weigh in and say, obviously, we don't wanna dig up a shared common. It might be in our best interest to tie into an existing main that's out in another direction.
Especially if a new line's offered,
Right.
you know.
I mean, it may be something that they,
That's right.
I mean, for them to look
If it's
into.
only gonna cost $5,000 to $7,000 too, that's.
Yeah.
Better than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I was shocked at that.
Okay. You good?
But, yeah.
Okay, any other announcements?
What about the parade?
The parade is scheduled for the Parade of Champions, April 5th at 2:30 p.m. I looked at the list today, and Ms. Metelko's been organizing all of that, and we have, I think, 21 or 22 entries in there. And I can send the list out so everybody can get an idea of who's on there. Mr. Bateman?
So, Tracy and I were talking a week or so ago, well, it was after the last meeting. I would like that we do open this up for people in Logan County, because this is the county seat. The parade is gonna go around the county courthouse. When we do the Christmas parade, it's the Lincoln Christmas parade, but we don't dedicate it to just Lincoln. And there's a lot of talent in and around Logan County that contribute to this county. I'm not saying it's gonna add 10 or 20 floats, but it's gonna add half a dozen at least. Mount Pulaski, Hartsburg, Emden. I just think it's the right thing to do since we are the county.
Are you talking
seat.
about for the future or this year?
This year.
It's a little bit late, isn't
No, it's not necessarily late. I had Ms. Metelko, there's only 3 schools. It's Hartsburg, Emden, New Holland, Middletown, and Mount Pulaski.
Right.
And she reached out to all 3. She only was able to get someone on the phone at Mount Pulaski. She hasn't heard from the other 2. Now Pulaski probably had, I know their volleyball team won state over there. And their 7th grade team went to state.
I think Hartsburg, girls volleyball.
Many years. So, the approach was this. Right now, it's just Lincoln, but we're trying to get an idea of if they were to open it up, how many teams, individuals from your school would be interested. Right now, that number is low, and we haven't been able to get a hold of anybody but Pulaski. Because I was trying to get a feel for how many that number might be.
I guess I'm just saying if Mount Pulaski calls back and said, yes, we'd like our volleyball team to be in the parade, I'm hoping this council would say, yep, we're okay.
I agree, yeah.
Put your float in there, you won the state. If they don't call us back, they don't call us back. I just didn't want to limit it to only the city of Lincoln.
Yes. But we could give them the option.
It doesn't matter to me, I don't care how many people are.
I'm not opposed to that.
Okay, I have no other announcements. If there are no other announcements, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, second.
Alderman Eimer made the motion, Alderman Downs second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Meeting is adjourned at 8 o'clock on the nose.
Can I oppose
Instead of
one
9,
time
we're
just
going
see what
over 8.
happens?
You certainly can.
And again,